Hello everyone, hope we're all doing well. Welcome back to an NIP update on the scandal situation. This time, Heaton's response to the Fiflaurin accusations we talked about last week. If you guys were not here for that, I will link my video down below where Fiflaurin has now accused Heaton of being the person who actually emptied the accounts of all the funds and temporarily actually bankrupted old NIP to resurrect new NIP with new owners. Now, if again, that video will be linked down below for all of you. I must say though, before we break down Heaton's response, Fiflaurin has now also taken to Twitter about some things that Heaton did say in this response video. Now, before we break down both sides though, I must say no side has really shown full proof. Now it's probably going to take this going to court again or some other proof being shown here besides Fiflaurin. When it comes to Nicholas Fisher, the former NIP CEO, alongside Heaton, neither side has really shown full proof of their accusations, because we now have Fiflaurin kind of being the middleman, you know, calling out Heaton most recently, but we also have Nicholas, the former NIP CEO, calling out Heaton, and now Heaton calling out Nicholas. So it's a back and forth. No side has really shown proof, and I think it's going to come down to if either side can actually show the PayPal transactions. They can show the account transactions, which apparently that account was actually emptied out by either Heaton or Nicholas. We don't know which one it was, but if either side can actually show those transactions, who made those transactions, and who emptied the account of all the funds, that would clear a lot of things up. But now we're going to discuss, guys, Fiflaurin, first of all, has now taken to Twitter to deny some of the things Heaton did say in Heaton's response video, and then we'll break down Heaton's response. Now remember, Fif has actually accused Heaton of being the guy who emptied the accounts of all their old prize earnings and prize pools they never saw, as well as bankrupting NIP and therefore ending the contracts the players had to receive ownership of the future NIP. So this new NIP was actually formed when old NIP went bankrupted. According to Fif, it was actually Heaton who did that, and with that, the contracts that were actually given to the players in old NIP that said if they played for 2 years, they were each going to give 10%. They would each get 10% of the organization. When old NIP became new NIP, those contracts went bust and the players got no ownership. That's what Fif is accusing Heaton of, and also he does show court documents on screen for all of you. He does actually show apparently a different witness testimony in court, which does actually say that both Emil, that being Heaton, alongside Nicholas Fisher, the former NIP CEO, were equally responsible when it came to the accounting. But as Nicholas Fisher tried to take responsibility, he grew anxious and ill, as we knew he actually had in the past. He got very sick. He admits this with a score in his interview there, and he took a step back. This will come back later as a very important point, that both Emil and Nicholas Fisher apparently had hands on the accounting and the books. And apparently the following tweet, a bit harder to actually transcribe here, guys. It does allege that Emil or Fisher, either one, never signed off or paid the annual report, the accountants for that, which eventually led to the bankrupting of the old NIP. And then very lastly, Fiflaurin does show an NIP business plan clearly from 2014 to 2015, also clearly showing the name of Hashem Shaheen being the owner, but this actually negates directly what Heaton had said, that there was actually no ties between Hashem Shaheen and old NIP and new NIP, and this negates that. They said 2016 going forward they were a new NIP, but apparently Hashem Shaheen actually had ownership or was a part of NIP stretching all the way back to a 2014 business plan, which does actually call out Heaton as being a liar and does prove some points that maybe both sides, or at least one side, is not telling the full truth. So now let's break down the actual video though and Heaton's response, and I must say from an honest standpoint, it was not done very professionally. So actually getting his points across in a clean manner or an organized manner was very hard to actually digest. I will link it down below for all of you guys. I think he does deserve his to say his side of things, but the way he actually did his video made it very hard to understand his arguments, and he does not touch on nearly all the allegations against him, as I'm sure you guys are not surprised about. And one of the main points, I think pretty much overall his main point here, what we get from this video, guys, is he pretty much accuses Nicholas of the same thing Nicholas accused him for, right? We know Nicholas Fisher, the old NIP CEO, he did actually flee to Thailand. He went away to Thailand. He got very sick and ill there because of all the pressure and stress, according to his own words, about this entire situation. Now, Heaton does actually say after he had actually left for Thailand, he checked the bank accounts. After doing so, though, only when he actually had a bank card to do so, because according to Heaton, for the longest time, it was actually Nicholas, the only person who had access to the account, until Heaton himself got his own bank card. I'm not sure why he brought this point up, because he eventually does just say, yeah, he had access to the account, and according to him, once he got his bank card, both him and Nicholas had access to that account with the prize pools and earnings. So it just confirms that it was either Heaton or Nicholas to deprive that account of the funds. We just still don't know who it is. So pretty much Nicholas is accusing Heaton, Heaton's accusing Nicholas of the same things, and we don't know who exactly emptied the account of all of the funds, although Heaton does go on to state that he actually had seen, he checked the account after he got his bank card and saw a bunch of transactions in Thailand. He doesn't show a single transaction in this video, and that's why I must again say Nicholas didn't show any proof either when he accused Heaton. So let's be fair in this, guys. No one has shown full proof of anything of these transactions, and it would be as simple as, okay, access the old account, see where or who made these transactions, who actually emptied the account, and let's see what the real truth is, right? Why has either side not shown this? Maybe because it's going to court again, but let's be fair to Heaton. No side, neither of these former uppers from NIP, Heaton or Nicholas, have shown us any proof of these transactions and who made them and who spent the players' money. Also very important, kind of a point that Heaton makes again and again, is he did his best to maintain NIP, to make sure NIP survives to today, and that very well could be true. He does actually claim with this as well that apparently Nicholas, when he had left because he was ill, when he took a step back from the organization, he had left NIP in such a crappy situation that Heaton had to bring in investors. That's where he actually brought in his friend Robert Himmler from SteelSeries, and eventually Hashim Shaheen, who he convinced to invest into NIP. And so that is where we now have this trio, right? We have Heaton, we have Robert Himmler, who eventually apparently brought the chocolates idea to actually bring more sponsors to the team and actually have payment for them, and they both actually had to beg. According to Heaton, he had to beg Hashim Shaheen to come in and invest into the company, and that's where the story does line up back to Fiflarin's point, where he had to bring in these investors. What was he offering the investors? Well, probably, maybe, could have been a potential ownership deal, right? You bring in investors, you say, hey, save NIP right now, I promise you ownership. What else could he promise them for the future? Again, some giant question marks. Then Heaton also claims he never lied in court, which, you know, if he has the courts to back him up, then albeit. He also makes a claim that Nicholas never had a hand in the bookkeeping for NIP, so why is he making these allegations? Although that's where we go back to the Fiflarin tweet, where apparently a testimony does state both Heaton and Nicholas had a hand in the bookkeeping for NIP. Now, is this going to be anything sufficient? We're going to see for the future, as Heaton does go on to also say, yes, he withdrew funds from the account, apparently for expenses to actually pay for taxes, as well as to pay the players, apparently, as well as some other expenses around saving NIP. I'm not sure what those were. Speaking of which, there was an allegation where he'd hired his ex-girlfriend. At the time, she was his girlfriend. Apparently, he was also paying her more than the salaries of the players. No talk about that. So that's one thing as well. I'm really curious he did not mention that at all. He says he did withdraw funds for a variety of reasons, but never mentions anything about a big allegation that his girlfriend at the time was actually making more than any of his players were. So no touching on that. It's especially weird because he also says he never took a dime for himself. Okay, it should be pretty easy to negate that if we have the transactions of the account, and that's what it really comes down to. He actually goes on as well. I'll link this video down below for all of you guys, but again, like I said before, the organizational format of the video made it very hard to see what points we're trying to come across. Apparently, he does have the court backing him up. He did make very opposing statements to that of Nicholas, the former NIP CEO, and we're probably going to have to wait and see for more to come out about this, guys, especially from Fiflarin's end, or anyone who has access to the accounts who's willing to share that publicly, which probably is not going to happen. As of right now, the situation is Fiflarin, the middleman, really just calling out. Heaton here was showing some evidence. We have Nicholas and Heaton going back and forth at each other, saying the other did that with the other thing that they're being accused of. It's very confusing. But if I'm going to give you guys my honest interpretation of what we have so far, just my thought process, it's very hard to overlook the fact that old NIP went under. It was bankrupted, and the former agreement was Nicholas had 50% ownership of NIP, correct? The NIP players back in old NIP were guaranteed, apparently in their contract clause, if they played for 2 years, they would each get 10%, giving the majority ownership to the players as well, 50% to those players. But all of a sudden, NIP's in a big financial struggle, right? A guy like Heaton supposedly, or could have, he brings in investors, and what does he promise those investors? I don't know what else he could have promised them if they were not making too much money at the time. Obviously, old NIP then goes bankrupt, new NIP forms, and we have 3 new owners with big stakes in the company of ownership, and the players that were promised ownership no longer got it. But all of a sudden, we have Heaton, we have Robert Himmler, his partner, and his other partner, Hashim Shaheen, now have ownership shares in the company that they really didn't before, at least not that large of ones. So it's hard to overlook that fact. And he also does not really touch on a lot of the allegations out there, especially the one of his girlfriend and others included. And so it's hard to overlook those facts. I want to try and accurately present his side, but I hope he actually comes forward with more documentation or a better presentation to show his side. As of right now, to me, Heaton's response was lackluster, and Fiflarin continues to attack this because he actually wants the truth to come out, and that's how I see it currently. As always, my name is Jake. Hope you guys all enjoy CSGO and esports news here on The Daily. Until next time, take care of yourselves. I'll see you soon.